From Santa Barbara, California, the timeless Voyager Series, where the knowledge is timeless and you are the Voyager. Interviews with leading-edge authors and speakers, psychic phenomena and the unexplained, UFOs, extraterrestrial encounters, government cover-ups, alternative healthcare, new technologies. Fasten your cosmic seatbelts and join me, your host, Bruce Stephen Holmes, the timeless Voyager.
Everyone, this is Bruce Stephen Holmes, Timeless Voyager Radio, and with me today, Joel R. Casey. We're coming to you live from the Festival of the Sun in Santa Barbara, California. And Joel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bruce. Pleasure to be here.
And it's very good to see a live audience. You know, normally I do my shows either by telephone line or with just my guest in the studio, so it's nice to have a studio audience. Joel, I always mention spirit guides whenever I have your name, or they're attached to you. We all have spirit guides, don't we?
Right. They're beings that we asked to help us before we came into this body. They're the best friends that we have. They're the closest friends that you got. And they're non-physical. They're in spirit. They're not in this third dimensional realm.
So these are other dimensional beings or entities.
Right.
What's the purpose of a spirit guide? I mean, I know the term spirit guide means they're supposed to guide us. What if we don't listen to what they tell us?
Well, you know, we need all the help we can get. It's not easy in this schoolhouse called Earth. This is a tough school, and there's schools everywhere. This is just, one big schoolhouse. And we have tremendous guidance and information bombarding us at all times. Again, these are beings that we've asked to help us before we came into this body. And we were in an all-knowing state, or a much clearer state, let's say. And we plan our life out, and a lot of us have planned a lot of difficult things to do. So we know we needed help. Okay. And we asked people who are good in certain aspects of life to help us, because we have guided also from the other side, in spirit, dead, in other words, and there's no death. Then we're born, the veil drops down, and we tend to forget.
All right, now we've got to clear up a few things here. First of all of this is planning then that we do before our incarnation. This is planning. We actually assemble kind of like a group of people that, or I don't know, we shouldn't use the word people.
No, I call them people. They're more real than we are.
Let's use the word
people.
Illusion. All right. We assemble a group of people, and they are kind of like pulling for us, almost like a team, like we're going to be the team, and they're going to be like the supporters.
Yeah, it's a team effort.
Okay.
They're home. This is not.
So they're part of the team. I'm three-dimensional. They're other-dimensional, but the whole thing is a unit. It's like a team effort to get what? To get me through, to get something done.
Right, to get your purpose done, to get your karma done, dealt with what you have planned to do in this time around. We've lived many, many, many lifetimes.
Okay, now you said before, then the veil drops. Let's talk about the veil of ignorance for a second, because these things go by so fast. People are listening to this. Let's make sure we get these terms defined here.
Well, many little kids will play with their spirit guides and their invisible friends, and they will do this until the parents tell them they're not there. Basically, we need to focus on Earth. We need to get our focus on life. It's much more pleasant in the spiritual realms than it is here. It's a difficult place to be. And there is a heavy veil of consciousness. Besides, when we come into the body, we inherit the ego, E-G-O, which eases God out. It's part of us, but it's a very negative aspect.
I remember that one, ease God out.
Right, it doesn't belong to matters of spirituality.
All right, so we come in, we have a team.
Helping us, right?
Right. Now, when the veil of ignorance drops, we lose sight of the team.
Yeah, they don't lose sight of us, but they're still there. They see us. They're very well aware of us. We tend to forget about them until we awaken, till our level of awareness rises to a point where we awaken to them.
So as children, now you're kind of, in a way, implying, or at least I'm inferring, that this veil of ignorance does not drop upon birth, but kind of starts to take over as you get older, from infancy.
Well, a lot of it has to do with how psychic you are when you come into body, because living many, many lifetimes, you inherit a lot of psychic abilities, a lot of being able to see into other dimensions, being able to see spirits. Right now, this room is filled with spirit. There are more people here than are in the physical. Many, many, many.
So we have a filled room here.
And they will ask questions too, by the way, because we telepathically receive information from them. And we work as a medium. We get to see the spirits, but there's many, many here.
So these guides, which are all over the place here, unseen by many of us, are they all helping, or are there also a group out there that are hindering? I mean, is it kind of like a game, a team?
There's a negative force, but the ones we're dealing with are on the spiritual realm. They've gotten their act together, let's say. They're helping us get our act together. And they're here to guide. They will not direct. They will not control. Thus the name's guides. Teachers have a different purpose, too, but we can talk about that later. And the guides that you have a commitment with them, a contract, so to speak. When you grow spiritually, we're on the planet to grow spiritually. It's called evolution. That's it, bottom line. They grow. It's a team effort. It's like a football team. One member doesn't win the game. The whole team wins or loses. We go through many lives we don't have to go through. We don't.
So in other words, when we're going to face at the end of this thing, we face these people that we made this agreement with.
We get to go over the game plan to see what we went wrong and what we did right.
Right.
And then we get to plan another lifetime out to get it right again. And we keep doing it until we get it right. Till we get it right. There's at this time. This is a lifetime, folks, to get it right. Believe me, you don't want to come back again. This is a dynamite time. End of a 26,000-year cycle. It's called a harvest by many. But getting back to guides, get to know them, work with them, because they can help make your life a lot more easier. And they guide you to books, they guide you to people. They work through many different ways. They're not bound by time. Time is man-made. They are not limited. We are very limited here in the physical body. They don't have a physical body, and which we're very happy about, to tell you the truth.
Let's drop the spirit guides for a moment. I hope they aren't offended by this.
They understand.
Let's talk about what a power day is. You were talking about power days a little while ago.
We had one yesterday. Can I mention a date?
Sure, of course.
Sure. December 7th was an extremely powerful day. We did a workshop, and it was unbelievable. It was really a day to let go, to let the past go. Just let your.
So what is the definition of a power day?
The Earth is being bombarded with tremendous amounts of energy at this point, spiritual energy coming from the central sun. This is not our sun, the central sun, more or less the source, if you want to put a name on it. Names are very limiting. And these energies are coming in to help us evolve, grow spiritually, raise our personal vibrational frequency. This is what it's all about. Like our guides and teachers are in another higher frequency, dimension, if you will. And as we said, this is the end of a cycle. It's a very important time. This decade is not going to end the way it began. And many people are feeling these energies. The ones who are on their spiritual path are being pushed more down their spiritual path. I mean, tremendous. And the ones who are on the me, self-serve, ego path are being, unfortunately, becoming much more negative. Everything is being intensified. And this is the time to get your act together, get hold of your spiritual values, communicate more with your guides and teachers, because they have answers for you.
So we're back to the spirit guides again. Their purpose then, of course, is to cooperate with us, though, and they can't interfere. I guess that's the most important point.
They're connected to the Creator. Control and manipulation do not go hand. That doesn't exist in spirituality. It does exist here.
So you can't just say to yourself, look, if I'm doing so bad, why don't they step in and change the course of my life so that I can finally get going? And that's not
Well, your higher self will shake you up if you get so far off your path. When you're off your path, life gets pretty chaotic. When you're on your path, what you plan to do, life flows a lot smoother. You get more green lights, more parking spots. They love to help you with those too, by the way, folks. And the higher self will terminate a life. We'll terminate the physical to get to the spirit back, saying, "Hey, come on, we got so far off. It's a waste of time." And it's time to get in touch with why you are here, what you plan to do before you came into the physical. And you have choices. But when you make the choices that are part of your life plan, soul path, it feels good. Go through life with feelings and emotions. We're taught, especially men, to block our feelings and emotions. That's a bunch of BS. We're here to experience life. That's it, bottom line. And you experience with feelings and emotions. When I was young, people would say, you're too sensitive, you're too emotional, men don't cry. And now when somebody tells me I'm too sensitive, I say, thank you. Beautiful. It's important, for men especially, to get control of that ego, because that ego, this world's not in a healthy state because a lot of egos running rampant. It's time for us to control the ego and not have the ego control us, and get more in touch with the spiritual, metaphysical values of life, and have fun with this stuff.
So now, people that are listening, okay, at this point, they're going to say, okay, great, maybe we do have spirit guides, or there are probably a lot of people out there that even contact their spirit guides.
Many people know.
But you actually have tools that you teach to allow people to learn more about this and actually become more in contact with their own guides and learn their names, I guess, and their positions of authority and all those different things.
Right. We were very lucky to come across an organization called the Tibetan Foundation a number of years ago out of Youngtown, Arizona, and they're an earth branch of the spiritual hierarchy. This is your ascended masters, a white brotherhood. They are in charge of running this show.
Now, what is the name of this organization again?
The Tibetan Foundation. You've heard of them. You've had other people.
The Tibetan Foundation.
Very, very pure organization. Very little ego. Very spiritual.
And they're in direct. I'm sorry. They're directly linked.
Oh yes.
So they're a third dimensional. They're a third dimensional representation of the spiritual hierarchy.
Yeah, it's like a branch in another country.
All right.
And they
like a franchise.
Yeah.
A third-dimensional franchise.
The franchise, yeah.
All right.
And they don't sell hamburgers either.
All right.
They teach people how to consciously channel, how to communicate with your guides, teachers, masters. These beings love to communicate with us. And the great masters want to walk next to us, side by side. They don't want to be on pedestals. Religion has put them on pedestals. Take them off the pedestals. They can't help you from a pedestal. And by gaining information, the more information you have, the better your choices. You have options. You can make choices every single day. You all make choices. And the more information you have, the better your options. And again, we have an awful lot of help getting through this school called life.
So let's talk a little bit about techniques. Is there like one technique you can talk about that people might be able to practice on their own?
Yeah, we have to unlearn some things and relearn some things. We work heavily with the light, protection, white light, gold light. We do need protection. There are spirits out there you don't want to communicate with. Just as there are people in the physical that would hurt you. There's parts of L.A., Chicago, New York I would not walk through. And we're not small people. There's people out there who like to hurt people.
Right.
And
so you're saying there's darker forces out there.
When they die, in death, you're exactly who are you in life. There's an element called the earthbounds. They don't know they're dead. They're dead. It's a very confused state. So there are spirits you don't want to communicate with. You don't want to say, hey, everybody's a radio station to some degree, a receiving, transmitting facility. And this is a danger with the Ouija board in many cases. A Ouija board's not a negative tool. It's a tool. It's neutral. But you don't want to say, hey, spirits, come on down and talk with me, because possession does exist. And again, there are many spirits who do not have your best interest at hand. They are, very deceiving, very...
All right, so there's an important point here. Once a person has to accept, first of all, I guess, that this is actually true. Mm-hmm. Once they've accepted it, the first thing that everyone wants to do is they want to communicate with anything that is not human. And so you're saying, no, stop, that's not right. Not anyone or anything, but now let's learn.
There's a great spiritual ignorance out there, because religion for eons have said, come and give us your power, your money, hour of your time or whatever, and we'll find salvation for you. Well, that's really, really a negative thing. You are making your salvation right now, this very moment. You're not going to get it when you die, because when you die, if you have it, you have it. You don't have it, you don't have it. So. It's time for us to, if people want to get books on spirit guides, there's many books on spirit guides. One great book about spirit guides and life after death is Ruth Montgomery's A World Beyond. We work with a gentleman named Arthur Ford, who was a very famous American medium, died in 1971. And he loves teaching people about...
Now, you say we work with him. Why don't you be more specific?
He's a teacher for us. He's a
teacher from the other side.
Right. He taught about death when he was living, because he was a medium. He communicated with the dead for many, 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 many people. And now, when somebody who when you die, you have a purpose. The purpose becomes intensified, because you don't have the physical body with the limitations. You're much more clairaudient, clairvoyant, and you strive for that purpose even greater than when you were on Earth. It really becomes a powerful drive. And so there are many, many in spirit dead, if you will, because there's no death, that are really sending tremendous help and energy to many. Edgar Casey has got many students in the physical, as well as many students, more students now than he did when he was alive.
So these people pass over, and they just keep going. They're selling books.
Oh,
not selling books, but anyway, why not?
Or hamburgers.
So you can. Maybe you can't take it with you, but there's some over there too that you can create.
Many of them are helping people write books. I'll tell you right now. Oh, many. All
right, let's come back for a second because we were talking about some techniques. So you talked about light
protection.
All right, how would you use light or visualize light? What is it that you would do with that?
We invoke the light from the spiritual realm, invoking, bringing it down into the physical, surrounding ourselves with a beautiful luminescent golden white light. This is known as a Christ light, the Christ consciousness. And invoking the light, you're bringing in protection.
Now, anyone can do this.
Oh, sure. People at Bruce is happening. People are doing it every single day.
Well, the reason I say that is because there are people out there that are telling you that you have to learn how to do this, and you're telling us.
My church didn't teach me about this, so I left the church at age 12,
Okay.
Went out to find.
So a person can actually invoke a particular amount of light, and that will protect them.
And a different colored lights serve a different purpose. We like to work with the luminescent golden white, or even a pure white light. And the more you invoke the light, the more powerful it becomes. I put it around my car. I put it around my body. I do it every single day because it feels good. And I know I'm in good hands.
Now, how do you do that? Just
I use the spoken word. There's great strength in the spoken word, and I call the light down. Now, there are a number of beings in spirit who aid you with bringing the light down because energies have to be stepped down many times before they get here in the physical. And we're talking about high frequency energies we have nothing like on Earth, no way to measure them. And again, the more you do this, the more powerful it becomes. Put it around you every day because there are people out there called psychic vampires. They can tap you, take your energy away. Many of you people have experienced this, especially in malls and when you're out with a lot of people. Put the light around you. And some people who are sensitive to energy will feel this protection around them, And people who are clairaudient can see the light.
So this is a technique that people would do every day just for their own health and safety. This is kind of like, getting up in the morning and locking the house before you leave. This is like locking your house, so to speak, and as you're out.
Very good way, like a seal around you. And again, the more you work with it, the stronger it becomes. That's important,
A person then is interested in learning more about their guides, learning more about entities on the other side. So the first thing that they need to do is to seal out the darker forces.
The negative forces, right. Forces that don't have your interests at hand.
What's next?
We work with a grounding. We want to ground the physical because we're dealing with high-frequency energies when you're communicating with your guides and teachers and the masters. We align the four bodies. We are made up of the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. The three subtle bodies are our auric field, let's say.
So all of this has to be aligned now.
Right, we're lining the chakras up. And these techniques are done with the mind. Our minds are very, very powerful. We have no idea how
So that's interesting. So we use our mind to align ourselves spiritually.
Thoughts are real. Mind power can move matter.
All right.
Yeah. And people must be aware that beware of your thoughts because there's much negative thoughts going out. Everything is registered in the Akashic records. When you die, you get to go through all your emotions and feelings and what you've gone through life. And if we start thinking more positive thoughts, let me tell you, we need more positive thoughts out there. My God.
All right, so now we do a little bit of this lining up.
Right.
It's a type of grounding.
A grounding, aligning, and it's a centering too. It helps center us. People who are sensitive will feel the centering. It feels good, and you want to go through life more centered. Then we deal with the ego. We put the ego out of the way. Mr. Ego doesn't belong in spiritual matters.
Now this is probably the strongest part of our entire system, the ego. Now, I'm saying you can put
like
the ego.
It's like a cancer.
All right, now wait, maybe not a cancer, but
the ego will keep you from attaining. Ego does not belong in spirituality. It'll even, if you want, folks. There's some great literature in egos too, and this is something that's, and men especially are taught. The ego is great, fantastic. It is part of us. We need to love the ego, but it's a 5-year-old kid, temper tantrum, me, I want. It's not the I am, that's a higher consciousness. Okay. It's a me, and it's of the personality. It's It's a negative aspect, Bruce, but it's something we come here to balance out with energies from the higher self, balancing out the negative ego. It's part of the personality. We're not dealing with egos with the ones on the spiritual realm. And the ego will keep you from attaining your goals. The ego is, again, the 5-year-old kid. It's part of us that is not really the most healthy aspect of us, but it's part that we need to love and control. No longer having the ego control us.
All right, so the ego is the thing that is hurting us or stopping us from attaining the goals that we've set forth. Is it the thing that is somehow separating us from our guides?
It's the separation. You better believe it. You better believe it.
Now, the point, I guess, that we're making here then is when we're talking about the ego. Again, maybe just one technique or an idea or an example of a technique that would allow us to somehow move the ego aside.
We do it with the mind. We talk to the ego again as a child and put it aside. Actually put the ego aside because it will block out spiritual communication.
So we're, in a sense, through the mind, and of course I don't know what psychologists and psychiatrists would think of this, but
I could care less.
I know. So can I, but let's at least address the idea. We're using the mind, and we're in a sense dividing the mind now.
No.
Now, who is doing this division?
No, not dividing. Listen, the purpose is to bring information through from the spiritual realms. Also, if you do nothing but communicate with your higher self, soul energies, more efficiently, hey, bingo, you got it. The ego will stop you from doing that. Come on, folks, This world's in a mess it is because of a lot of egos running rampant. Ego does not belong in spirituality. And we're going to focus on this because it needs to be addressed as it is. And I had a lady leave...
I mean, we're not going to beat this thing.
I had a lady lead a workshop yesterday because the ego will just cause a lot of difficulties. And when we do workshops, we address ourselves. We're not going to be... No egos running rampant around here today, folks. You can hang your ego by the front door on a coat rack. And let me tell you, some people have a tremendous difficulty with this. These are not happy people. The ego is not of the light, Bruce. But it's part of us.
All right.
It's that imperfect part of us. There's no perfection here.
All right, so we get the ego aside.
Right. Then we work with the subconscious, because the subconscious can also block out information. There's many blocks in the subconscious from former lifetimes.
This sounds like
sounds complicated to me.
A Nintendo game. So now we're at the second. We're with the fifth level here.
They're very simple techniques.
I know.
We simplify it, but I'm sensing
that's a point, though. It's a good point to remember that we're going level by level by level. So we're at the subconscious.
Yeah. But humans, we do tend to complicate the devil out of things. Simplicity is the answer. And we deal with the subconscious because that can block the information out from the higher realms. And
now, how do we access the subconscious?
Communicate with it.
So again, we're setting it up again.
With the mind, the powerful mind, the power of the mind.
All right.
And then we deal with
That was quick. Right. How long does this take? 5 or 6 years?
No, it's just fast. And again, some people have a greater ability to do this because of former incarnations of being channels, being spiritual communicators. But along with that, there's a lot of fears in the subconscious because in past times, people seeking the truth were, done away with many, in many different ways. I've been decapitated. For being
recently,
for working. Yeah.
Sorry, listening to this on the radio, folks. He does have a head. All right. All right, so the point being that we go through a lot of changes and a lot of things happen to us in our quest.
And the point being, we can joke about this and laugh about this, but this is extremely important to get down because without the spiritual communication from our higher self soul level and from our guides and teachers, we're going to be in one hell of a mess. We need this guidance. Things are transpiring at a rapid rate, and people are feeling this. And the people who are becoming more chaotic, it's going to intensify. So we need, you need to get in touch with your higher guidance, folks.
Okay, now we've got
more clearly in touch
the ego out. We've
dealt with the subconscious.
Moved into the subconscious. What is in the subconscious areas?
The subconscious carries all of the information of the previous incarnations that you have, and
that's the not the unconscious, but the subconscious.
It's a master computer. It's unbelievable.
What happens in the unconscious mind then?
We don't deal with the unconscious.
Oh, okay.
I mean, our hands are full already, tell you the
Good,
truth.
all right. Well, all right.
But these are simple techniques. Again, we do simplify them. And then we work with the golden light. Gold is the highest vibrational color on the planet. Negativity can't pass through it. And we put a golden tube up to the spiritual realm so we can communicate with the spiritual realm without negativity interfering. And these are the most powerful tools I know on the planet to communicate with spiritual guidance.
So all of this information that everyone has heard was the way to set up a communication with your own guides. Now, once a person begins to do this, a novice, someone who at least on the level of the quote-unquote ego, has never done this, let's say.
Let me say, your guides and teachers have been talking to you from day one. They talk to you via intuition, via thoughts. You pick up a lot of their information already, and as you become more aware, you can tell when you're doing it. You're at the right place at the right time. And since they communicate with you in thought, a lot of them, they sound like you. You're very well in tune with these beings. And it feels good to be at the right place, right time. I love it. I'll get instructions going down the street. Make a left here, and sometimes I'll run across people I haven't seen for many incarnations. And again, a lot of us have done this in other lifetimes. The skills are already there. We just need to awaken. It's an awakening process, Bruce.
So we're just remembering something we've already done.
Remembering, thank you. Beautiful word. Right. Remembrance. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about extraterrestrials. How do extraterrestrials work into this stuff?
Visitors from other galaxies, dimensions, some of our forefathers coming back and watching this show. This is really a show.
So the point here is that extraterrestrials, I guess, are nothing more than beings that are not third dimensional, or are they third dimensional?
No.
So they're not third dimensional.
You're getting a whole wall of... The ones that we deal with are not.
The ones that you deal with, when we're talking about spirit guides.
And a lot of humans, too.
All right. So a lot of the extraterrestrials... Well, of course, extraterrestrials are also going to be in this whole area of three-dimensionality and fourth dimensionality, right?
They're not in spirit. They're not dead. They're not in that transition where they're in between lifetimes. They're living a life which is of their own. They're in a higher frequency. They're more evolved than we are. They've evolved out of the third dimensional.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
right.
many eons ago. They no longer need microwaves and refrigerators. They're past this school. Many of them have never even been on the planet because the universe is teeming with life. Very few of the souls have even get a chance to walk in this particular.
Do they have spirit guides too?
It's a good question. Yeah, they do. But the ones we deal with are not in spirit. They're live, and they communicate via thought, telepathic communication. And you can communicate with these beings, too, as you can with spirit guides. They will communicate in the same way. They've mastered the mind power tremendously. And they're back here helping us get through this transition, this end of the cycle. They're our forefathers, so to speak. They're some of our future selves. They've mastered time travel. I think I've said that. And they're back here helping, aiding, not interfering. The ones we work with are called the Brotherhood of Light. And they're the Space Brothers and Sisters.
So the Space Brothers and the Sisters, Space Brothers and Space Sisters.
Known also as the Ashtar
Space people.
Command.
Okay,
Right.
the Ashtar Command.
Right. And they work with many humans. They will not interfere with our freedom of choice, our free will. God gave us free will eons ago so we could grow faster spiritually. Well, humans are good at messing things up, and we've taken it and we procrastinated and delayed. We've gotten so involved with the materialistic values and gotten away from the spiritual that we've, again, we live a lot of lifetimes we don't have to live. So they're back here helping you see, not only do we evolve, the Earth is a living entity and it's evolving into a higher frequency. Tremendous, fantastic times. The Earth is going to become one of the sacred planets. It's been a negative dumping ground for humanity for many millions of years.
Now, we have, as those of you may have been, who are actually listening, have come to understand, we actually have a live audience for a change. Not that I have a dead audience normally, but we have a live audience today. And it's always nice to have people in an audience. Normally when we do the show, we don't have jets crossing over like this. But anyway, what I'd like to do is I'd like to allow some people to ask questions, and we had a question from the back. Now, we'll have to repeat the questions because my microphones were not set up today for questions. But if you want to ask a question, I'll be happy to repeat it so the people that are listening can hear that. You had one. Okay, so the question is, are we just talking about aliens from outer space when you talk about extraterrestrials, or do we also include ascended masters in this?
The Ascended Masters are basically the White Brotherhood, the spiritual hierarchy for the planet. They're not the ones that we are talking about with the Brotherhood of Light. They're connected, of course. There's very little separation there. They work hand in hand, of course. But there is a difference, right? The White Brotherhood and the Brotherhood of Light, there is a difference.
Now, my understanding was that when we were talking about Ascended Masters, not most, but a lot of the Ascended Masters are exactly what that term means. Namely, they have ascended from some form, whether it be human or some third dimensionality, into light.
And they, like a lot of us, are not from this planet. So they are from outer space, if you want to say, or another galaxy, another domain, another star system. And a lot of us here on this planet this is not our home.
But a channel once told me a very interesting thing, or actually I should say an entity that was coming through, but I believe it was Philip who was coming through, when I asked the question about Ascended Masters. He said that some Ascended Masters actually do not know that there is three-dimensionality. I liked that idea. They don't even know that there are people like us living, just like we didn't know that they were living there, doing whatever they do.
We're a small drop of life, and a tremendous amount of life out there beyond our comprehension. One of the problems is we try to comprehend a lot of this with our third dimensional brain, and it's meant to comprehend why we're walking the planet, third dimensional reality, and we start trying to bring we can't do it. The brain is not capable of handling it. The mind is now, but that's another story.
All right, was there another question? Boy, the questions got real quiet all of a sudden. Great.
I think it's important.
We have lots to talk about. We have a real agenda here. Actually, it's something written down.
But many people are becoming aware that they're being aided and helped by these beautiful beings called the Brotherhood of Light. Again, they will not interfere with our course of destiny, but they're here to help us help ourselves get our act together.
All right, so now in our hierarchy, though, we have to talk about this now, because you said the Brotherhood of Light and the White Brotherhood. Now, a lot of people can mix those up easily. The Brotherhood of Light, they are the extraterrestrial civilizations that work as the workers for the Brotherhood of the White Brotherhood?
They're visitors. They're visitors from another realm. Some of our future selves, the master time travel, as we have said, as many people will do in this lifetime. Time is man-made. Okay. The guides and
it may be man-made, but I mean, the two of us have things to do today.
It's a tool. It's a tool. It's a tool. What we need here for the time being. It's a tool. It's a very limiting tool, but it is definitely a tool. It's like a gauge.
So we have to be very careful when we use the term extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
That we know what we're talking about. So you're saying right now extraterrestrials are, and I think the important term that you used, they are not dead. They are alive.
Right, they're not in spirit.
All right, they're not in spirit.
Right.
So we don't call extraterrestrials anything but those that are not in spirit.
Basically, I guess you could say that.
All right, go ahead, Mary Sue. You had a question? Oh, here we go. The question, have you, Mr. Casey, she called you Mr. Casey, have you personally met an extraterrestrial?
There are a number who are walking on the earth. They've manifested physical bodies to experience some, and yes, I have. It was at a hamburger stand, by the way.
But I sometimes wonder about the people I've met, whether they might be extraterrestrials.
Yeah. But again, they're just down here to experience and aid.
Hollywood would be
light.
a place where you'd probably meet a lot of extraterrestrials. It seems that way anyway.
Halloween, yeah.
Okay, so the question basically is, do spirit guides have specialties, and how do we know which ones we should be working with, I guess. Is that right? Something
right.
like that.
Yeah, they definitely do. You've got what is known as an all guide. This person is basically around.
Well, I tell you what, why don't we, I'll interrupt you. Why don't we start out? We've got a gatekeeper. Okay, and then we've got a number of guides. Why don't we just go through that little explanation for people that are listening?
Well, the gatekeeper comes into play more when you communicate, when you start communicating much more with them, to keep out ones that don't, again, belong in your...
So the gatekeeper is a definite gatekeeper. Yeah. It keeps other
I myself have two gatekeepers, Karen and WC. You have three beautiful beings around you right now because you're very much in tune with your guides. And they do have specialties. You've got guides that are interested in your love life, your job life.
He's talking to someone in the audience, everybody, not me.
And you do pick up much information from them, and you get a lot of love from them. And when you become more aware of them, it sure makes their day because, again, they're the best friends that you have. And there's many ways to do this. By reading, awakening information within you, again, as your awareness grows, you're going to perceive much more. And awareness and understanding are not always on the same level. Usually awareness is out there a little higher. Then understanding comes up to the level and light bulbs go off. Things make sense. And as you come into higher consciousness, higher awareness, you'll see things differently and perceive you have the ability to see spirit guides. And you've earned that from a previous incarnation. And you're going to see a lot of things that, that are beautiful. And they're here to help you in many, many avenues of life. And you have a handful. You have probably 10 or 12 that are very, very connected to you.
Can we just talk for a moment then? You almost started giving a reading here.
Freebie.
It's okay. I mean, just really good. But I wanted that was a good question, so I wanted to come back to the question for a second. So we have specialists. Now, this is again prearranged.
Yeah, as we said, you plan your life out very carefully. You plan who you want to do, who you need to marry, all these things, what you have to get done, what karma needs to be fulfilled. And you do it very carefully. Yeah, it's predestined to a large extent. We get down here, and with our insecurities and the damned ego and so on, we go around marrying the wrong people, setting up different situations where we're building up negative karma that needs to be fulfilled in another lifetime. Bum, 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 bum. When you're in tune with who you are and why you are on the planet, and many people are, they're doing what they came here to do. Again, your life, you find the right mates, you find the right people to be friends. Life just goes much more smoother. And you don't have to look far to see a lot of chaotic activity. You do plan your life out very carefully.
For those of you who may have just tuned in, Timeless Voyager Radio.
I get a little emotional about this.
All right. Joel Casey is my guest. This is Bruce Stephen Holmes. Another question that was surfacing. All right, that was a good question. I want to repeat that for the listeners. So, assuming that our guides and teachers are around and everything, and they are. The question was, are they also evolving, and do we carry them with us from lifetime to lifetime, or do we disband and pick up a new group?
Good question, yeah. I don't know the answer.
We probably do both. But anyway, go ahead.
No, each lifetime is like a new movie. This is like and seldom do you have the same producers, the same camera crew, and everything else go from movie. You change, you interchange, because you have different purposes. Each lifetime is to serve a different purpose. And so you might have some carryover, but usually those guides who've guided you are back here incarnating, and you might be helping them. But
are there guides that say, I refuse to work with you again?
I have many. Mr. Ford says, Joel, you're very difficult to work with. And I agree. But they're coming from a.
This can be fun, see, right?
It is fun. You got to put humor and fun.
That's the most important point, isn't it? Let's get on the fun issue for a moment.
Get humor. That is one message that comes from them, the guides, teachers, spiritual beings. Ones who've got their act together. Have fun. Come on, it's our God-given birthright to have fun. God, we lose sight of that.
Another question.
Fun. Nobody's going to take the T-bird away. Just go ahead and have fun.
All right. So another question about power days and power. And the energy influences that are coming to us.
Yeah, we just had a bunch of more beings come in the room. A couple leave, but others. This place is really filling up beautifully. Again, they learn. It's all interaction. I forgot the question. Power days.
We reviewed. Maybe we'll rewind.
November 22nd was a very powerful day too. Again, it's one word sums it all up. It's called evolution. It's called change. Change. Things are changing. People, you're going to change one way. You're going to change consciously or unconsciously. There's two ways to go through life.
I think her question was more.
No, it's the energies that are coming help us evolve. They're powerful energies from the spiritual central sun, and they're helping us lighten our bodies. We're going from a carbon base to crystalline-based structure. Our blood cells are even changing. And we're coming into a lighter body. And so doing that, you have to throw off a lot of garbage, not just from this lifetime, from other incarnations. So the change is affecting no two people the same way. I'm sleeping more now than ever before, and that's grounding. The food, I'm needing more protein, much more water. I drink a lot of water. Your bodies are changing, and these energies are coming in to aid us with it. And when you have information about this, and some days are more important than others as far as this goes, the 7th of December was a day to let go. Just stop thinking about the Pearl Harbor. Just let go. Let the hatreds go. We don't need it. I'm sick and tired of hearing about it. Let go. The more hatred you carry with you. I was born in Florida. I was down in the deep south when the blacks, they called them colored, had their own bus benches, their own water fountains. And I saw a tremendous amount of hate and negativity. We can learn through fear and negativity, or we can learn through love. It's time to learn through love. Let the fear and negativity go. We don't need it anymore. This is a very negative planet. It's known as a negative.
Hey, look,
no, from our...
It's supposed to be a positive show.
No, negative. It's our choice. We can be negative or positive. Again, it's balance. Just like your car battery. Your car battery's not all positive. It's a beautiful instrument. It starts your car. It's balanced. Be in balance and live more in a positive self. But this planet's known as a negative planet from other galaxies due to a gray mass around it. And that's our thought forms, our actions and our deeds.
Now, a good question.
The gentleman has a question.
Oh, is there another question? Why don't you try to repeat it?
The gentleman asked, with the guides, are we just rolling around as like a cluster of energy? Because everything is energy, by the way. They're just in a lighter, higher energy field. Or do we need to call them at will and so on? Yeah, again, they won't interfere with our freedom of will. Sometimes we have to ask for their help. It's important to ask for help and call them forth. In cases of emergencies, they'll come in and help you, of course. Yeah, being good best friends. But yeah, it's important to develop a line of communication with them, because they don't always know how your lessons are being assimilated. It's important to sit down, and again, they can read your thoughts. They can enter your thought patterns, but our thoughts are not always that clear. So I like the spoken word,
Okay, now that's a good point. The point being made here is that, the question was, are we kind of like the coach? Do we need to be communicating with them? And the answer, as you were stating, is yes. They can't. I guess they don't know everything. They don't know what's going on.
They have a higher picture of what's happening here. They don't know everything. It's like,
so. This is like if you go to a doctor. I'm just the point I was trying to make here. If you go to a doctor and you say, "Doctor, I don't feel well," he says, "Well, what do you want me to do? I'm the doctor. I have to know." Tell me what's going on. Now, this is what you need to do with your guides.
Communicate. In all aspects, even just in the physical. If you don't communicate, what happens,
So they're learning from your life also.
Right. Everything. Somebody asked a question earlier. Everything is a state of evolution, spiritual growth. They're growing also where they are. It's actually faster to grow on Earth here because it's more difficult. Everything is growing. Someday, lead will become gold. Everything evolves. Everything. The alchemists of old could do the energy changes and turn lead into gold. But everything evolves.
Okay, so the most important point out of this just little part here of the show is that people need to realize that the spirit guides are there to help.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have got to take the initiative to tell them what's going on in your life, tell them what your desires are, and ask them for guidance.
Yeah, your life will work a lot better. This is why they light up when you become aware of them. They're able to help you more.
Now, there are people that I have met who want to talk to their guides, and they are very good at talking to them, but when it comes to listening, they're not sure that they know what their guides are saying.
Good old ego, good old ego.
So ego is what is separate?
A lot of it, too. And again, a lot of us need to go to middlemen, people who have been trained in many incarnations as channels, as communicators.
So use the term middlemen, meaning channels.
Right.
Mediums.
Well, if you want to call your friend who lives a block away, you pick up the telephone, right? Okay, there are a lot of us who are telephones. Communicators. This is my forte. This is what I do. This is my life. I love it. I would rather work with spirit than human beings. I'll tell you right now. They got their act together. They know what love is. They love us unconditionally. They love us just as we are, with all our faults. And they understand. That's a key word. They understand what we're going through, and in understanding, they can help us. Understanding was written on the Bible a number of times. Understanding. When you understand your neighbor, then you can love your neighbor. When you understand what you're going through, you can love you. And And it's all down, it boils to unconditional love. Don't have to like everybody, though, I'll tell you.
You have a question. Okay, now the question is, how do the guides appear to you when you say that you see them?
I see them in a number of different ways. I sense them an awful lot. I'll see sometimes.
So the word "see" has to be defined now.
Right, a lot with the third eye, this chakra right here, which a number of years ago I could feel a lot of activation here. There's a chakra called this is the third eye. Your crown. You basically communicate with them through the crown chakra, the top of your head. This is how we teach. And the inner seeing is here. Sometimes I can see them almost as clearly as you, but usually it's just it's a lighter energy. It's kind of hard to describe. Yeah. And then they present themselves as they want to. It's thought projection.
So there's a certain amount of telepathy here.
Oh, yes.
Telepathy being the all-inclusive language that
mind talk. Yeah. Again, in spirit, you think of being somewhere, you travel there. It's all the thought, the mind. And again, if we had any idea how powerful our minds are, there are people out there levitating because they know they can, and they're working with spiritual energies. There are people out there who are manifesting their bodies, leaving one space and going halfway around the world. They've mastered the art of doing this. You can't tell them they can't do it because they're doing it, And a lot of you folks here will be doing this in this lifetime. All miracles is spiritual energies manifesting in the physical. Christ said, what I'm doing, you can do more, It's going to happen. I mean, it's already happening with a lot of people.
Joel R. Casey is my guest today. This is Timeless Voyager Radio. I'm Bruce Stephen Holmes. We're talking about spirit guides, and we're talking about spiritual things. You can't really separate the spirit from everything, can you?
We're a spiritual being in a physical body. Okay, we're all multi-level dimensional beings. Your higher self, your soul, is not governed by time and space. So, being a spiritual body, a spiritual being in a physical body, we're here to walk as spiritual beings, using this physical as a tool. We ask for this physical. We plan our physical out, and gather experiences. Go through life. Get the lessons with feelings and emotions. And love our physical body, which a lot of us don't, unfortunately.
So we all have an agenda, don't we?
Yeah.
Each one of us has a personal, separate agenda. It's been called Dharma, I guess, in the Vedic tradition.
I like to call it a mission, a life plan, soul path. Some people have kickback lives because they've earned the ability just not, a lot of things, good things happen to them. They're lucky. They don't have to work so hard because they've earned that ability to have that lifetime. Some of us have to work very, very hard. I almost didn't make it to this point. I didn't want to be here this lifetime. It was a very tough lifetime. But we're seeing more and more people that are being driven by their path. They know they have some important stuff to do. That they know these times have been talked about for thousands of years.
Now, we have a few moments. Let's talk a little bit about the concept of channeling, just to kind of clear the air on that with some people.
That's good, Bruce, because the last couple of years I got away from doing the workshops. I would call it soul awareness. I wouldn't even use the word channeling. We're all channels. It's like the Santa Barbara Channel out here. It's a conduit for water to flow through it. If you dumped a bunch of big boulders and so on in the channel, the water would flow through it not as clearly. We all are channels. Some better, some not so good. And channels for spiritual guidance, information. And this is how our guides and teachers speak to us. There's a number of ways of channel, many ways of channel. We get it through intuition. We can get it through verbal voice. Many get it through writing, a la Ruth Montgomery. Many people get it through creative endeavors, painting and poetry. We don't do anything alone. The ego will let you think you do, but we don't do anything alone. And when you become more aware of this and channel these energies down. Christ was a channel. His prophets were channels. Again, your life will become much more meaningful. You'll find out who you are and why you're here. And you'll start doing what you love.
So I guess the most important issue here that we've touched on over and over, probably veiled, but let's make it clear, is that this is a team effort. We are not alone.
Yeah. And we're getting the message more and more to people that it's time to awaken. It's an awakening time. Wake up, and wake up and find out why you're here and get on with it.
All right,
let the past go. Totally let the past go. Don't carry the grudges and the hatreds of the past. We don't need them any longer.
And it's Joel R. Casey. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Bruce. Great day.
And I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in to Timeless Voyager Radio. This is Bruce Stephen Holmes, and I hope that your own personal voyage through life towards the development of your highest potential is a joyous and successful one.